They do this all the time. They go run around finding interesting things happening in Dracut, and they make films about it. So
I know, and the Open Space Committee takes us into the woods everywhere. I think we've gone to 9 trails. Have we been on 9 trails, Karen? At least. I think the only one we have not been on yet is Long Pond.
Okay.
In which case, they're going to take us out in a boat. Probably just drop us there.
Okay.
So this is Helen Dunlap, and tell us what we're doing over here today.
We are going on a walk. We are going to look for and talk about woodland wildflowers. Okay, and the beauty of spring woodland wildflowers is, well, the uniqueness of them is that they come out early in the spring because that's when it's almost happening. The leaves will come out and the canopy will block out most of the sun. So the wildflowers have to take advantage of this window of time when enough sun hits the ground to warm them up and get them going. Now, of course, plants will grow on what we call the forest floor, the woodland floor, later on, but they don't require as much light. So this is all worked into their lifestyle and the way they do things. I was here a couple days ago looking for, looking for plants, seeing what we would see. And I just couldn't find anything that I was looking for. And I was really upset. I thought, oh no, we're going to have to change the venue. And then on my way back, I thought, oh my gosh, they're right here. And I just hadn't seen them. I had just walked past. So there are a lot of things we will see just as soon as we start out. But before I think we'll just get started, and then I'll give you more biology later, and then you will have to have a test at the end. I will check and make sure you learn things. What do you see?
We don't know what
Oh, yes, okay. Yes, lots of plants, right?
Karen already found one.
Okay. The first one I'm going to introduce you to, and we don't usually pick these things, but I think sometimes it's useful because if there are enough of them, they're not rare, you can, get a better look at them. This is a wild lily of the valley.
Oh.
Now, you probably know the usual lily of the valley that, Gail was planting at the cemetery, and they have sort of a long stem that has little bell-like flowers that hang down. This one has a little bunch of flowers at the tip. This is in the group of we have. Do you know what flowers are for? To be pretty. Reproduction, right?
She read the paper.
There's a large group of plants. Most of the plants on Earth today are what we call angiosperms, and those are the flowering plants. They're relatively recent. They evolved, so many hundreds of millions of years ago along with insects. And the reason they have, and they're called angiosperms, and they're called angiosperms because their seeds, sperm means seeds, means other things too, but in this case it means seeds, are coated. Okay, so they're coated seeds. And the other group of plants are called gymnosperms. Those are the conifers, the pines and hemlocks. They have naked seeds. When you have a pine nut, you don't have to crack it, do you? It's a naked seed that's in the cone there. Okay, and those are more primitive. And they depend upon wind to carry their pollen. Okay, these guys depend upon insects or birds to carry their pollen. Why do they need to carry the pollen? To find another flower so that they can cross-pollinate. Okay, and that's like fertilization, right? You don't want to fertilize yourself because then everybody comes out just like you. Okay, what we need out here is variation. We need lots of different kinds of plants and animals, all variable, so that they can then, when conditions change, like climate change or something like that, we have enough variation so some will be different enough so they can adapt. So that's called natural selection. So variation is the basis of natural selection, which is the basis for adaptation. Okay, and flowering plants really are good at it, because they don't just sit there and wait for the wind to blow. Okay, they make these nice showy flowers. And the flowers, you know, attract, sometimes they're fragrant. They will attract insects and, you know, sometimes birds if they're bigger, and they, you know, mess around here, usually to get the nectar, and then they fly to another one. Okay. And the result of this, of course, is seeds. Once you have a fertilized egg, this is the pollen is the sperm, you have the egg inside another flower. Once you get that fertilized, a seed develops, and inside the seed is an embryo, okay, for the next generation. So we're not going to talk about seeds today. We're just doing the flowers, okay? So, and before we walk on, I just want to mention one thing. This lily of the valley there are two big groups of angiosperms. One are called monocots. They're like the grasses and corn and the lily of the valley. They have parallel veins in their leaves, okay? You know what grass and corn look like, okay? And we'll be looking at some monocots. And the others are dicots. Now, the word cot means cotyledon. When the seed sprouts, monocots just have a little. Have you ever watched corn grow? One embryonic leaf, okay? Dicots have two embryonic leaves, like, you know, cucumbers, beans, peas, two things come up, okay? So that's where that name came from. Yes, Gail.
If I brought some lilies of the valley, would they, the way they spread, would
Yes.
they spread in the woods?
Yes, they would.
They would? Okay.
But I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Because we don't want things planted here.
Okay.
You know, we want, we want to have things
Natural.
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 Yeah, so I'd rather not have anything planted. Enough gets brought in, you know, that's not supposed to be here. These, you've heard of invasive species, foreign invasive species. So we have those.
Okay.
But the ones that we're going to talk about today are going to be the native. Hi, Kathy. So we have somebody here who came all the way from New York City, Greenwich Village, my niece Becky, to see this walk. And we have somebody else, Kathy Baird, with whom I sing in Andover at the Andover Choral Society. And she came all the way from Andover. So this is, oh, super, super. So you got a handout, yes. Okay, so shall we go on and see, I knew that the lilies of the valley were right here. And another one is the star flower. These are all over. This is the time of year for star flowers. Okay? This little guy is in the primrose family. Okay? And one or two little flowers. They're beautiful, very delicate. You know, we're not going to see much that's going to be showy today, except one. There's going to be one really nice showy. But most of them will not be showy. Okay, so the star flowers, you will see them everywhere. And we're really lucky because, you know, some things have come and gone. The anemone has come and gone. We won't see them. Okay, now right here is another flower. Not quite blooming yet. It's called the Indian cucumber. Now I'm not going to pull it up because we don't have that many of them. Okay? Now notice how it kind of looks like the star flower. If you were just walking through the woods and didn't know any better, you might think they were the same thing, right? But the Indian cucumber has a whorl of leaves, and it's also a little bit fuzzy. And then it has a second whorl of 3 leaves, and on top of that pops out a flower. And later on in the season, there will be some little red berries there, okay? It's called Indian cucumber root because the root is apparently edible, and guess who used to eat it? I mean, after all, you know. back then, this was it. You know, this was the Walgreens, the Walmart, and the Hannaford. You know, this is where you got everything. So they knew exactly, and they knew when things bloomed, when they flowered, when it was good to eat. Okay, and whether you had to do something to it before it would poison you. And we'll come up with that in a minute. Okay? So Indian cucumber root, which is also a monocot. If you look at the leaves, parallel veins. Okay? All right?
All right. Did you know there's something growing out of your pocket? I just noticed that you're coming to life here.
Okay, I'll explain this before it falls out. You know, I've been talking about recent plants and ancient plants. These are very ancient, okay? 300-400 million years ago, their relatives grew into great trees. This was before the angiosperms and before the gymnosperms, okay? And they're called, there's various names for them, club mosses, Lycopodium. They are primitive. They don't have seeds. They have spores. All these primitive plants like Lycopodium, like ferns, don't have seeds. They have spores.
Did they get real large?
They don't anymore, okay? Because along came the gymnosperms and angiosperms who outcompeted them. They were more adapted, so these became relegated to the forest floor. So now they're just little tiny things. But it's really interesting that we have 3 different kinds in our woods. This one, these are all the same kind, and you'll see others that... We'll see another kind. I'll point it out when we get there. And then there's a third kind that forms kind of a long garland. And they almost went locally extinct because people used to collect them for Christmas decorations. You know, those nice long things. We have some on the other side of the road. The other side of the road's a little bit different. I think there was less grazing over there. So there's more things over there. But guess what? These used to grow 300 to 400 million years ago in the period of time known as Carboniferous, Pennsylvanian. Guess what happened? They sunk down under the swamps and things. Years passed. They rotted, partially decomposed, but there was still energy left in them. Guess what they have formed? Our coal deposits. Okay? You will find imprints of the relatives of these in the coal deposits. Okay, so that's so here when we burn coal, we're burning energy that came from the sun 300-400 million years ago. So anyway, respect these little guys. They've been around a long time. So that's what was creeping out of my pocket.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's walk on and get away from the road noise. This is a wonderful little plant, and I fear, I'll wait till people get here. Okay, this little plant here is, I think most of them have already bloomed, but there's another spot way down on another trail that we'll go to where I think they're still blooming. Notice the wonderful, beautiful leaves, a monocot again, and they have a little flower. It's my favorite flower. Those of you who are my friends on Facebook know that I posted a picture of it. It's very pale, sort of creamy yellow. It hangs down, and it's called, one common name is bellwort. Another common name is wild oats. And I understand that's because oat flowers hang down also. and its scientific name is uvularia. Do you know what that little thing is in the back of your throat?
Uvula.
The uvula. Okay, hang down. So that's all related. Anyway, I think we will find more of these that are still in bloom down the road. But those of you who know your garden flowers will say that looks like Solomon's seal. There is a Solomon's seal, but I don't see any on this side of the road, but we have a few on the other side of the road. But the wild Solomon's seal is called the false Solomon's seal. Has a different branching pattern, and they have a bunch of flowers, kind of like the lily, the wild lily of the valley, at the tip. Okay, so anyway, this is Uvularia. There's another Indian cucumber, and here's some are that haven't popped up their second whorl.
Oh, there's some more over here with the little white flowers.
Yes.
Very pretty.
Okay. Now I thought it was going to be a Solomon seal, but no, it's very hard to tell one from the other. Becky and I have worked with this before. This might be a Solomon seal. It could be. They often occur in the same place. Okay. I'm just going to stop here because it's a good stopping place, and there's a sign here. Many of you know the story of Marjorie Dunlap. It's my mom. Can you all hear me? Not quite.
They're coming in.
My family bought this whole farm, 110 acres, in 1950. My dad, Albert Dunlap, Mom, Marjorie. When my dad died in the 1970s, Mother was terrified that this would be developed. Both of my parents were naturalists. I mean, I spent my youth walking around like this, being told about things. And anyway, so Mother worked hard to have this whole property preserved, and that's why it's called Marjorie's. The Open Space Committee named this major trail in this area it's called the Dunlap Sanctuary, Marjorie's Way. She would absolutely love to be here. She is, okay, with us today. Because that was her fear, was this is going to turn into houses. She wanted this whole area to be open to the public. She didn't want it to be a private preserve. She wanted people to enjoy it. So she would be just so delighted. The Boy Scouts were working with her just before she died. She knew there were going to be trails back here and benches occasionally. And, she would be so delighted to know everything that the Open Space Committee has done with, working on this, keeping it. Bill comes out here and chops down trees that are across the path, repairs bridges. She's ecstatic. Okay. Did somebody have a question?
Is this blueberries?
Yes. So I was going to wait till we saw some flowers, but these are low bush blueberries. Okay. Oh, here's some flowers are. Okay, you can see them, little bell-like flowers. Okay. Blueberries and cranberries are in the same group. I have that on the. No, I think I don't have it on the handout that I gave you. Blueberries are in the
High bush.
There's high bush, and we'll
And
see.
low bush.
Yeah, we'll see high bush blueberries too. This is a high bush blueberry. Okay.
Oh, it certainly is.
Now, is that well named?
That's appropriate.
Low bush and high bush. There we go. Okay. Anyway, it's a wonderful place to come for blueberries, wild blueberries, like in late July, early August. My mother used to come down here with her stew pot, okay? And she would spend the day collecting a stew pot full of wild blueberries. She would sell them at the door for probably 50 cents, a quart. They were,
Cheap then.
that was the kind of person she was. She worked hard, as Becky knows. Okay. We're not going to get anywhere if I keep stopping, but there are some things I want to show you. Notice this little bush. There's layers in the forest. There's the canopy, there's the understory trees, there's the bushes, and there's the forest floor. Mostly we're going to stay with the forest floor, but this is one of my favorite plants. Notice the leaf. What does it look like?
Maple?
It looks like a maple, right, but it's not a maple. This is a maple. That's a red maple, young red maple plant. Okay, so the leaves are very similar, but this is a viburnum, maple-leafed viburnum, and it's going to have some white flowers, which are then going to form some blackberries. In the fall, you come back here in the fall, and this will be the most gorgeous thing in the world. The leaves will turn this deep bluish magenta color. I mean, just outlandish, gorgeous, gorgeous. Maple leaf viburnum. I don't know of anybody using them for plantings. I don't think that they transplant well.
They're not edible though.
They're not edible. No, no. I don't know if they're edible.
We don't want to find out.
You know, all berries are edible to somebody. Otherwise, they wouldn't
Maybe to
make
the
berries
animals.
because they have to, or some birds. Yes, right, right. Now, there's something else I wanted to show you right here. That sometimes I see a lot of these. I'm worried because I haven't been seeing a lot of these, and I'm worried something's happened to them. But this little plant here
Oh, look at that.
is called Pip Sisera. We have 2 different kinds of Pip Sisera in this woods. Okay? Notice the very shiny leaves, little serrations on the edges. Later on, it's going to put up a little spike and have little bell-like flowers hanging down. Okay? In the handout that I gave you, Pip Sisera is, the name is obviously an Indian name, and it means break into little pieces, and I think that's because they broke it into little pieces to make a tea.
Oh.
Okay, it's like so many of these things, they had, you know, herbal qualities, and so this was a source of some tea. Here's another one here that it looks as if somebody stepped on it, of course, right next to the path. Okay, so anyway, we'll see another species of Pip Sisera that has a shorter, more pointed, variegated leaf. It has little white lines on it down the path a bit. We have this, and I'm going to break. I hope I have the right thing.
I hope there's lots of them.
I think I have the wrong thing.
Uh-oh.
No, I have the right thing. Wintergreen.
Oh.
Okay. It has a glycoside that's methyl salicylate. Okay, that gives it the mint flavor. So both the leaves and the berries, it has red berries later on, have this wonderful mint flavor. So
Can
this
you
is
use that
the
in tea?
original- Yes, you can make wintergreen tea. You can make, and if you want to pass around these pieces and see if you can break them and sniff them, you'll sniff.
It's so tiny.
I don't know, Kathy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wintergreen, though.
Wintergreen, yeah.
You know that comes from this.
It's amazing how she finds everything. That's so minute.
As I told you, I grew up like
Oh,
this.
yes, you
Bent
did.
over. Here's another flowering lowbush blueberry.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are animals in here, Helen?
Yes. We probably won't see any. We might see a chipmunk or two. You might want to notice over here the
Looks like a spider's web.
yeah, what is that called? Tent caterpillar.
Oh, caterpillar.
Yeah, tent caterpillars. Those are, you see them in the spring, and they build their tents around the branches. And then in the fall, you see them at the ends of the branches, and that's the fall webworm. They're both exotic, both foreign species that cause problems. But they're food for birds.
What are the
Oh.
ones at the end of the branch is called?
Fall webworm. And those, you see them in the fall, obviously. The bridge was built by one of the first people to make this trail. I think John Fusillo. There were 3 guys that worked for months working on this trail and bringing in wood to make benches and everything. And yeah. And while we're here, I just want to point out a fern. Now, we're not talking about ferns. These are primitive plants. They don't have flowers, but they have spores. And this kind of fern, I believe this is going to be a cinnamon fern, it has a specialized leaf that makes spores. Some ferns, as you probably know if you've ever grown ferns, have spores on the backs of the leaves. You see those little brown spots? So it depends. And I don't know if we'll see it, there's a fern called the interrupted fern that has leaves part way up and then spores, and then leaves the rest of the way up. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. Anyway, this is a more primitive way of reproduction with spores. Spores fall on the ground, and after they fall on the ground, they develop into a little male and little female part, and they go through some funny little hanky-panky down there in the soil, and then a new fern will grow up from that.
Baby ferns. Didn't you go ahead?
No, go ahead.
Here's more Eubularia, velvet. But still, oh, here, you can see the little seed. See, there's the seed. So she already has
Oh, yeah.
reproduced, and there's a nice little seed. So that was successful. Do all of you know poison ivy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
3-leaf, 5-leaf?
Don't touch anything if you don't know poison ivy.
How does poison ivy differ from sumac?
Well,
They
in
look the
first
same
place,
almost.
I don't know much about poisonous sumac. Okay, I really don't. So I can't say too much about it. We don't have it here.
And that's a good thing.
That's an invasive.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought it was.
This is barberry.
Yes.
Yes. Right. You know. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there are lots of invasives, and this is an invasive. This wonderful flame bush. It's taking over. It's growing where we should have high bush blueberries. People plant it because it has wonderful red fall color, but unfortunately has berries that the birds love, and so the birds eat the berries and then drop the seeds, and that's what we have here. And you know, I've kind of relaxed my feeling about invasives. I think we're going to have to learn to live with them because it's impossible to get rid of them. You know, maybe in your own backyard, yes, but not all over.
Now, Bob and I have a Japanese maple. It's red, red, red,
Yes.
like almost a burgundy color.
Yes, those are okay because they don't take over.
No, it's like a dwarf.
Yeah, yeah, but they don't spread. So there are a lot of foreign plants, you know, that are okay because they stay to themselves, and it's the ones that spread that are. Yes, right. Yeah, poison ivy. You just make sure. 3 leaves.
Okay.
When it's first coming up, it's kind of reddish. But don't be afraid of every 3-leaf thing, because here we have 3 leaves, and guess what this is? This is a baby jack-in-the-pulpit.
Oh.
And I didn't know this was here, but here is a jack-in-the-pulpit. Do you see that?
look at those.
Here's its leaf,
Yep.
and here's jack-in-the-pulpit.
Look at that.
Okay, now we'll see another one that, whoops, I think I touched the poison ivy. If you
Uh-oh.
touch poison ivy, just be sure you wash well within 2 hours, okay? Don't. Okay, so you see this little jack-in-the-pulpit? It has this is called the spathe, and the spathe is the covering, okay? And it covers over the spadix. And that's, you know, the jack, and this is the spathe forms the pulpit, and the jack is the little guy inside. Actually, it should be called a Jill in the puppet, or probably a Jack and Jill in the pulpit, because that little spathe, it's kind of comparable. You know a cattail?
Yes.
Okay, the cattail also has a spadix, rather. The spadix has female flowers at the bottom, male flowers at the top. Okay, they'll be either fertilize themselves, which some can do, or they'll be cross-pollinated by some interested insect. But the point is, when this grows up, the top part where the pollen was is going to fall off. Sometimes you see a little pokey thing at the top of a cattail. Okay, but the bottom part is going to develop into a cluster of really bright red berries, and you've probably seen those. And then they get so heavy, the whole thing falls over.
Now, are those the cattails? Are those the ones that grow by the roadside, more closer to the swamp?
They are wetland
Or
plants.
wetland.
So you'll see them in wetlands.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And they are actually not closely related, although they are also monocots, but they just have a similar case. This is in the calla family. You know a calla lily?
Yes.
You know that white thing? That's comparable
yeah, it
to
does
the
look like that.
spathe. And the little thing sticking out is the spadix, and it has the same kind of cluster of flowers. Okay? So I'm not seeing that many jacks in the pulpit this year. I'm worried. I mean, I see them along the road, I see them in other places, but down here we used to see lots. So I'm glad to see a few little ones. That means they're on their way. And here's some growing. But notice they are, they're very similar to poison ivy. So don't be fooled. In fact, it even fooled Becky once, who was weeding our garden by the house. Remember that? And you pulled out something, and you pulled out a jack in the pulpit, thinking it was poison ivy. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm emphasizing how hard
She
you
doesn't
work.
embarrass easy, Helen.
What do you look for the differences?
Okay. Shininess, and notice also the vein pattern. See, there's a vein around the edge.
No, what are you pointing to right now?
I'm pointing to a jack in the pulpit.
Oh.
This doesn't have that. This usually has some serrations.
Yeah.
And this has very minor serrations,
Yeah.
okay? And usually, it's bigger.
And that reddish one is poison ivy.
This one, right. Poison ivy, when
Shiny
it first
one.
comes out, and poison ivy is usually shiny. Yeah. And it has an oil called urushiol, and it causes, for most people, severe dermatitis. My husband can touch poison ivy and not be worried.
He's very fortunate.
Yeah.
Others get it blown out them. And
No, some people, all they have to do is look at poison ivy and they get a rash. Okay?
Helen, do you know anything about this grass?
Yeah, these are, okay. I was going to hope nobody would say anything about the grass because I'm not too good with them. If Guy were here, my husband, he knows all about. These are sedges. There are two kinds of wetland grass. They're sedges. Sedges have edges. Okay?
Sedges have edges.
Rushes around. So, some wetland grasses have a really spiky round leaves, and these are sedges. Now, they have a little flower, and I saw some across the street earlier, but I don't see any here. Okay, but these are they'll grow in the woods. So this isn't grass that's come in from the fields or anything like that. These belong here. I'm just looking to see if there are any flowers, but I don't see any. Not here. But they have a little tiny yellow flower. Most grasses don't depend upon insects, right? Most grasses are wind pollinated, as are most trees. That's why our allergies. Don't blame, the dogwoods and the peonies and the cherries, because their pollen is sticky. So that when an insect comes up, it will stick to the body parts of the insect. Wind pollinated things, they don't want to stick to anything. They want to fly. So the trees and grasses are, and some other plants like ragweed. Ragweed grows at the same time as goldenrods. Goldenrods are showy. They want to attract the insects. They were thought to be responsible for all those late summer hay fevers.
Oh, right.
But they're not. They were blaming the goldenrods for what the ragweeds were doing, and that there's some other plants that release their pollen.
Now,
late summer.
aren't ragweeds the one that if you touch them, they burn?
No, I don't
is
think
that?
so. I
They're
don't
like,
think so. You're
the
talking
Queen
about
Anne's
nettle.
lace? Oh, nettles?
Nettles. Okay. Stinging nettle. Yeah.
Stinging, yeah.
Yeah, stinging
I know,
nettle.
I had it in the yard, and it looked like a weed, and I said, well, that's not bad. And I tried to weed it, and my hand burnt so
That's
bad.
stinging nettle. And what they have is little, on their leaves and stems, they have these little hypodermic syringes, and they'll inject acetylcholine in you. Acetylcholine is what goes between your nerves and muscles to make your nerves contract. So it's a very powerful chemical, and it makes you, if it's on your skin, it makes you itch. But it goes away.
It does eventually, but
Yes, right.
after calamine lotion.
I've been pulling this grass up
Oh,
in my garden
yes.
because I was afraid it was something that I had growing in front that would get in there and you couldn't get
You can't get it out?
couldn't get it out. I mean, I eventually dug it.
Okay, here's a sedge that has little seeds, so it's already, hopefully pollinated.
Yeah.
You can see it there.
That's
But
good
obviously
to
it's not trying to be showy. A lot of grasses, and here's more. Yes, there's more. Yes, good. But the flowers themselves are tiny, tiny yellow things.
Now, what is this sign? Yeah,
This sign
this
needs
is-
some repair. This was part of the original setup, and it had descriptions of some of the things you might see. But we're going to try to get the Open Space Committee to revise this because we need it to be updated.
Written request.
A written request.
Well, I've already told Bill he's going to do a vernal pool one for down here, which is what we're going to see next. And these benches were put in by those first guys too. And one of the nicest things that ever happened was my daughter and I were walking through the woods in the winter. Had been a light snowfall, and somebody had written in the dusting of snow, "Thank you." It was wonderful.
That's
Anyway,
nice.
yeah.
It looks like it's still pretty sturdy.
Oh, it is. They built them right. You can see star flowers and lilies of the valley all along.
Now, where do lady slippers usually grow? Anywhere they want, I guess.
Yes, right. We'll find some. I think there are a few that are near the road, but I know there's such a much better place. I thought I would wait till I see a better. Oh my goodness! He did it!
Look at that.
Oh, Bill! Yay! Oh,
That's great, doesn't it?
oh my goodness! This guy is wonderful. Bill Greenwood. Thank you, Bill. You must have just done this. Oh, that's great.
That's beautiful.
This is perfect placing. This is not wildflowers, but I will just briefly tell you, some of you know about vernal pools already. That's a vernal pool down there. Okay, vernal
over
means
there.
spring. And usually they fill up as a result of
see it?
snow melt or all the rain we've been having. And then later on they will dry out. This makes them a very specific habitat for certain animals because since they dry out, they're never going to be populated by fish. So certain animals can reproduce there and not worry about their babies being eaten by fish. However, there's a catch here because they also have to hurry up because you have a dry June or July, that is going to dry up fast. So all these things are speeded up. So the animals that use vernal pools, there are quite a few, but we have the wood frog, we have the blue-spotted salamander, we have the yellow-spotted salamander. Those are three main ones. And the wood frogs live around the woods. The salamanders live in holes. They're called mole salamanders because they live in mole holes. And they come out early spring. There can still be snow and ice around. And usually they say at the first warm spring rain. And then they will run through the woods to the nearest vernal pool, reproduce, lay their eggs, and then go back. Spend the rest of the year underground. At certain times it's been described that you can hear them rustling.
Very busy.
Anyway, vernal pools are a protected habitat. We have a young man, he lives in Somerville now, he got out of town, a wonderful young biologist, and he went around Drake and certified like over 100 vernal pools.
Wow.
People were furious with him because this means in many cases they can't develop their land the way they wanted to. So some of us think of him as a saint, some people think of him as a devil. But anyway, they are protected for obvious reasons. They're very special. Certain species just depend upon those.
So if a vernal pool is certified, It needs to stay as is?
Well, yes, and you know, every town is a little bit different, and Drakett's not so good about protecting its vernal pools. But if it's certified, it has a greater level of protection. You need a buffer around it, and you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be careful about what is allowed to flow into it. I'm not sure of all the latest rules on vernal pools because they have changed. But anyway.
Now, is that predominantly like rainwater that forms a pool?
Rainwater and snowmelt. The original idea is that they, collected the water from snow and ice melting. Right. And these guys will come out and reproduce in them, when there's still snow and ice around, if they can get to the water.
Oh.
This is a wonderful vernal pool. It really is. So
it's a good size.
Yeah. If we could take the time, but I really want to do more wildflowers. See, we could go down and see if we had, if there are eggs there. Usually they're masses of wood frog eggs or smaller masses of salamander eggs. You can hear a bird singing.
I can.
I'm quite sure that's a Scarlet Tanager. It's supposed to sound like a robin with a sore throat. It's a bright red bird with black wings, and it's a canopy bird. Lives way up.
We got Orioles this year.
Oh, yes.
They're beautiful.
Good year for Orioles. And rose-breasted grosbeaks, too. We have some in our backyard. The black and white birds with a reddish chevron on their chest.
I think I've seen one of those, actually.
Yeah, they're really cool. Okay. Now, this is one area, this wet area that flows into the vernal pool, where there used to be piles of jack-in-the-pulpits, and there's like two. There's one here. Oh yeah. Is there another one over here? One there. Okay.
Little triangle.
So they are around. But there used to be lots of them, and I guess there's another one right there. Okay, then I should be discouraged. Okay. Over here. Yes. Oh, good. I just needed more sets of eyes. Anyway, there's a little jack.
Oh, this one right there.
Okay. Okay. I'll try not to. Oh, yes. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm hoping to see one more Pip Sisera on the way, and then we'll go on. Oh,
what are these little purple ones?
Yes, bluets. Okay? Bluets
Bluets? They're
are
pretty.
related to, believe it or not, the coffee family. Okay? Coffee plants they have these four little petals. I mean, you never know who your relations are going to be, you don't necessarily look like them.
So which one are you looking at?
They're bluets.
The little blue flowers are called?
Bluets.
What did you say about coffee?
It's a relative of the coffee plant.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not. And also of partridge berry. I haven't shown you partridge berry, but we'll see those. That's kind of like the wintergreen.
Is it a little red berry?
They're really pretty.
Yes, with red berry.
There was just one single berry.
Okay, we'll see some other ones.
There
You
was
saw
some
one
right
down there?
at the entrance.
Good,
We were
good.
standing there.
Okay,
These
so
are
I should have
little
brought it
baby
up.
bluets blowing in the wind here.
Yes, there's a baby bluet. Yes, definitely.
Now, are they white ones too, or?
Some of them are whiter than others. I think there's just a lot of variation. Now I'm looking for the, here is, now there's no berry here, but I'm just going to point it out. This is partridge berry,
Oh, look at that.
okay? And this is also related to the coffee plant. And what they form later in the year, they'll have two little flowers that come out really close to each other. And those two little white flowers, each of them looks like a little bluet flower, they fuse and form one red berry. So another name for this plant is twinberry and partridge berry, because I guess partridges like the berries. Anyway, You see these more later. You can't find any time in the spring where all the flowers are out at the same time. In fact, you know, things are a little bit different this year because it was so cold.
Helen, what was that?
Partridge berry. Yes. It's on the list. It's another relative of coffee. It's not getting us lost.
What? Look at another bench over there.
Yes, right. That needs fixing up, and we need to clean that. We need to get the Open Space Committee busy.
The Open Space Committee does such a wonderful job.
Open Space Committee is the best
They are
committee
amazing.
in town. Hands down.
They literally are trailblazers.
Oh. And the thing is, they don't just say they're going to do things,
No, they do it.
and they do them well. Yeah, that's a nice spot for a bench, but it needs to be cleaned up so people will use it.
This pond goes out to the golf course. You can see from that golf course hill, right?
Karen, tell me that again. I can't hear you.
So this pond here, Helen, right, goes up alongside the golf course.
Yes, and we will go see that. Not necessarily. This is the pond. Well, you'll see it better when we go up this trail. But we call this the little pond. When we were growing up, we were very imaginative in our names.
Yeah.
So this was the little pond, and the cows used to actually come down from the pastures, and this was their watering hole. So you would see cows wallowing around in it in the summer, and there was a little dock. And in winter, we would come down here, sit on the dock, put on our skates, and this is where we learned how to skate.
Oh, wow.
And then we had another great name for the other pond, which we called the Big Pond. And that's sort of an overgrown swamp, and back then it was kind of messy, and that's where you played serious hockey. And, you know, the kids would jump over the fallen logs and find a rock or something as a puck, and my sister lost a tooth. And
What is? Yeah, I
on
saw
the
that
big
too.
pond, yeah, this was for learning only. This is
What
still
is,
tame.
what is that hanging down?
Oh my goodness. This would be catkins from a tree. So this doesn't belong. This is a high bush blueberry. And this is probably, looks like there must be a poplar around here, because I think that's what this is. Anyway, flowers, now
like-
releasing seeds.
It's like milkweeds.
You're pollinating.
Yes.
Well, I
She
think
is.
actually this has already been pollinated. No, I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know this. I don't know everything.
Which way, Helen? From a tree.
Which way,
Go to
Helen?
the right.
Okay.
Here's more Eubularia.
Is this Pip Sisera? Is that, or is that a little baby pine?
No, this is the other species of Lycopodium.
Oh.
There are three. You call them princess pines. You call them club mosses. The official name is Lycopodium.
How big did they get, Helen?
Well, these are the ones that don't get big anymore.
Okay, those-
Okay, they form spores. These are the ones that used to be big and gave rise to our coal deposits. And see, they're the little
The little,
sporangium
the little stem, yeah.
where the spores will come out.
Are these
Okay.
still, because I remember in the 70s they were illegal to go into the woods and pull them out?
You know, I think that that's been overstated.
Stated,
I'm
okay.
not sure that they,
Yeah.
you know,
In the 70s,
people would say that, and they
Yeah,
would say you
because I
shouldn't
ran-
pick any wildflowers. I'm not sure it was ever really a law.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
When I
That's
was
good.
when I was a kid, I used to pick lady slippers, and then they told me that you
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
supposed to pick them.
Right.
After I brought home a bouquet.
Right. Princess pine.
I'm going to just point out this fern here because it's a unique one. It has 3 branches. It's called a bracken fern, and it's toxic to cattle. So now I know my dad used to run the young cattle in his woods, and but I think you have to eat them all to be close.
What's it called?
Bracken, B-R-A-C-K-E-N.
There's three, what? Three.
See a branched leaf.
Three branches.
All ferns, all you see is the leaf. They have a stem underground, and then they shoot up the leaf. So that's why if you try to pull one up, you'll probably keep going.
I've
Okay.
done that, yes.
Pink lady
Yeah,
slippers.
put the mic up to it, see what he has to say.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking at it. I'm getting closer,
Could you
right?
do that? I want to take a picture.
What? Speak up.
Do it again.
Gorgeous.
What do you have to say about climate change?
These are gorgeous.
Clearly these are monocots. They have the, the lily-like leaf. They're also an orchid.
Oh, are they?
We have two orchids here. One is called the rattlesnake plantain, and you won't see it in this woods. Across the pond, though, they grow. So, it's microhabitat differences. But this, obviously it's very showy. I saw a bumblebee just earlier this morning. This is fertilized by a bumblebee. They go inside between the cleft here.
Oh, look at that.
And then the only way they can get out is past the little exit at the top where there's pollen. So they're caught. And they can't leave unless they carry pollen to another.
Like a Venus flytrap?
Well, except Venus flytraps eat.
Yeah.
These don't eat the insects.
Now, do they produce more than one flower, or just this
one.
this one flower?
And this is called, the species name is Sessa folia. That means that there's no stem on the flower. Okay.
Right there.
Anyway, it's
Gorgeous.
just what a gorgeous
How
thing.
long do
It
they
is.
stay in bloom?
Over a week. It's a good question. But maybe 2 weeks.
And do they only bloom once a season?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then they form a little seed. It sticks up. When they first come out, some of them are pure
Oh.
white, and it takes a while for the red to develop. But sometimes they come out and they're red. So I think it depends on the habit. Now, one thing.
Gorgeous.
What? There was a question.
Is there something special about this area that there's a cluster?
And there's some
Probably.
over there.
This is,
Some
in
over
just
there.
a minute, I'll mention that. Here's the seeds from last year, okay?
Yeah.
Pops up. Okay. Years ago, people used to try to transplant lady slippers. Oh my gosh, do I want these in my garden? And they always died. They always died. What they realized was that the lady slippers are associated with a fungus in the soil. The filaments of the fungus, they call them mycorrhizae. And without those filaments, they couldn't live. And the filaments help absorb the nutrients from the soil. Well, a big thing was made about this with respect to lady slippers. Since then, and actually biologists will tell you they knew this a long time ago, all plants, all terrestrial plants, all land plants depend, or at least use, soil fungi. They have their roots are connected with all the filaments of roots in the soil, and it's mostly those hyphae, those mycorrhizae, that are absorbing the nutrients. And the roots of a plant, well, they hold it in the ground, but they're not absorbing that much.
Right.
It's the mycorrhizae. You can now so much is known about these, you can go online, Google mycorrhizae. You can buy plastic bags of mycorrhizae and enhance your gardening skills. Because what you have is the spores of these fungi. Okay, now in nature, when these fungi decide to reproduce, what do they produce? What comes out of the ground late summer, pops up? Mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
Those are the fruiting bodies, the reproductive organs of the mycorrhizae. So you have all kinds of mycorrhizae, all kinds of mushrooms. And
We've seen those in the yard.
yeah, so it's all about reproduction, right?
Don't
Anyway,
eat them.
Mycorrhizae are very, very important. Don't
How do you spell that?
MYCORHIZAE. Back in the 60s, we used to have a bumper sticker that said, "Have you thanked a plant today?" Well, now we should say, "Have you thanked mycorrhizae today?" It's not all the plants that do everything. Okay, here's more lady slippers up here. So, why are they all in one place? Probably because particular mycorrhizae are there. You know, probably. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I would guess that this, this is some, there's so much variation from spot to spot in woods like this.
Is Clintonia similar in that way?
Is who?
Utilizing Clintonia, the one with the blueberries, the yellow flowers and the blueberries, and they have, I think they're monocots. They have
I'm not
parallel
sure.
veins.
I'm not
They're
sure.
in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Here is another wildflower that hasn't bloomed yet. It's called wild Sarsparilla.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And it will shoot up a little shoot later on and have a bunch of little white flowers. One of the interesting things about wild Sarsparilla is that it looks very, very much like another plant called ginseng, which used to be widespread across New England. But guess what? People collected it because of the roots, the medicinal properties of the roots. I guess I'm not sure, but you could sell them you could get rich on ginseng. And so people pulled it up, and I don't know where you could find ginseng.
Isn't it supposed to improve your memory?
I think that's one of the things. All kinds of claims. Yeah.
No, ginseng,
no,
they
that's
sell
ginkgo.
tea with ginseng in it.
Ginseng. I'm not sure. It's one of these great herbal.
Yeah, see how much you remember.
There's a trillium that has a nice big red flower. You see that farther south, like in Virginia?
Yeah?
What we have here is nodding trillium,
Yes.
which has a little hanging white flower.
Yes.
And I've never seen them on this side of the road. I do see them over there. And this is why I wonder if, the grazing might have
okay.
done away with some of the trillium. I'm not sure. But I would hope to see some. Who knows? We might.
Yep.
That's Euphularia. That's bellwort.
That's bellwort.
That's what we saw way back at the beginning.
And Helen, is that the same as the false Solomon seal? Is that
No,
or
false
that's
Solomon
different?
seal has a leaf and a stem that looks like that. It's a little bit coarser. It doesn't branch. Whoops. Stepping on it.
Maybe didn't hear both.
The Euphularia has this
Euphularia.
characteristic branch. Solomon seal doesn't. Solomon seal, this has a little flower hanging down, and I hope we'll still see one. Whereas the Solomon seal has a bunch of flowers at the end. The real Solomon seal has a bunch of little flowers hanging at every
From
leaf
each
node.
leaf. Okay.
That's the kind that you can have in your garden.
Yes.
Yeah, it's bigger.
The little flower?
That's a low bush blueberry.
Oh, for
Okay.
goodness sakes. This is a little, what?
Yes.
And this is,
This is a
right, I went too far.
they're all
is-
mixed up, huh? This is the Euphularia or bellwort, and this is the low bush blueberry. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. See, I told you, I'm going to test you. later.
Whole new, I'll take
Is
it.
there a midterm test?
I'm gonna use that. That's the bell.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, okay, we have partridge berries. Yes, right here, okay?
Oh,
These are from last year's crop. And if you look at the berry closely, and I don't know if you can, I don't have my glasses, you can see that there's two parts to it. Can anybody see a little line down the middle? Maybe not. They look pretty whole, but there is a line down the middle. Should have brought, I can almost see
I see it.
Yeah, it's right like that. Okay, and that's where the two flowers came together to form one berry.
Wow.
Okay, and there's
So,
a seed inside.
It's the dark green,
The dark green, yeah.
and
It's
it's
either
a partridge berry.
partridge berry, and see they're just starting to form new leaves, and then they'll form flowers. These are another plant that's closely related to coffee.
And do they all grow on low to the ground?
Absolutely, they creep along the ground.
Creepers, yeah.
Just want you to take note of all the trash, the fallen trees. When I was growing up, we were always taking walks in these woods. It was never like this. All of our woods are just filled with fallen trees.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what it is. Probably has something to do with climate change. Somebody once said, how old are these trees? when, at one point, back in the 1700s, all this was cleared. They were grazing sheep here. So, and my dad grazed cattle here. There were trees then, but he grazed them in the woods. It might be that some of the trees are kind of getting old enough so that they are, it's their time. But I think it's more than that. They're just, we've had these winds and these ice storms, and it's amazing. Never used to.
2 years ago, we lost like 7 or 8 of our trees in the yard. And I called the town and I said, is this happening all over town? And they said, it actually is. And what was the tree that it was? The bark was falling off all of the trees.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
trees were dying.
So, there could
There
be
was
some
a disease. There was a disease.
Yeah.
I forget what
well,
it's
with
called.
some trees, there are diseases, but I don't know whether that could be that can account for all this fall, because it's all different species.
Seemed like it was closer to the lake.
Okay, here's a beautiful high bush blueberry in full flower. Isn't
Will
that
it produce?
wonderful? Yes, yes. Now the trick is to get here before the birds do. Which my mom always seemed to be able to do. Now that would be a gall.
Oh.
Okay, so inside there's probably what some insects do is that they form a little case. They use a leaf to form a case around,
Oh,
and then
okay.
they have their.
Oh, yeah.
I can't break it open, but I've never been
So it's-
successful in seeing anything inside. Sometimes they're left over from last year, This is a hazelnut.
Really?
Yes. Hazelnut, and it's mixed in with a maple leaf viburnum over here, so you've got to watch out. But the leaves are different.
Will it produce hazelnuts?
Yes, it should. And again, you have to be lucky to get there before
The birds.
The birds.
Little competition in here, Helen.
Oh my God!
Helen's Haven.
Bill.
That's great.
Bill's been up to no good.
Bill's been busy.
Been up to good.
Yeah. That's great. I love it.
I know.
Okay, well, we've got to go to Helen's Haven. Here is. Here's a bellwort with the remnants of a flower. Okay? See how they hang down? And then you can see the seed inside. So that was a success, but we're right at the end of it. But I just love these hanging down flowers. They're very, very delicate. Maybe we'll see some more. Bill, what is this? Put this sign up Helen's Haven.
More flowers.
Pardon?
Little white flowers.
Yes, those are the. That's the lily of the valley.
Oh, it is.
Wild lily of the valley. Yeah.
No, I have a lily of ballot in my yard, but it's this tall, and the little bells hang off the side,
That is the lily of the valley.
That is.
This is the wild lily of the valley.
and they multiply.
Yeah, they will spread like crazy.
But they're pretty.
It smells so good in my house right now because of all the lilacs. All
Mine just bloomed.
when your lilies of the valley bloom, always
Yeah.
at the same time. And when you combine
Don't
them,
let go.
the smell is
Mine just bloomed because I have
I hope you
able to
didn't get
bottle
sick on the bus.
I have Japanese lilac, and they bloom after the regular lilacs, and they're stronger.
Yeah.
The scent is stronger.
So this trail here that Bill has labeled Helen's Haven, or I guess it goes to Helen's Haven, was an addition to the original trail done by a later Boy Scout. And there's a little bridge that goes across the stream, and so we'll go down here quickly. We'll see a few things. And then it goes up the hill, and there's a bench up there, which I think will make it to it. And the bench the idea was originally for something to honor John Ogonowski, because John Ogonowski's land is right over there.
Oh.
Okay, and so that's you're supposed to be able to sit up there and think about all that happened. So anyway, this trail has been through a couple of generations or iterations, because the first person who put it up, the bridge washed away. And so then we had a second person who replaced the bridge and fixed up the trail and put the benches. This is new, this platform here.
My gosh, Bill?
Was this Bill again?
Taking the tags off. He must have done this yesterday, because I was here Thursday.
Okay.
And what is this called?
Oh, look at this.
Okay.
This is beautiful.
Oh, look, a great blue heron.
Look at that.
Oh, here, get a picture.
Oh yeah, I was
Got quite a wingspan, huh?
Yeah, he's gone now. Yes, a dinosaur.
Look, we had something.
there.
They're related to dinosaurs.
Is
Okay,
it gone?
this pond
Yes.
here
He went way
is
over
really
there.
a new pond. We call it Thornton's Pond. For years, when we first moved here, this was just a wetland. Swampy, grassy wetland. The beavers have been building homes. We'll see a beaver dam over there that backs up the water. Water runs from the little pond, goes into the little pond first, but then it runs through here along the stream and into this pond, and then back into the big pond. And it's fed also by other streams that run through the golf course. Okay? This is called Thornton's Pond because, the original proprietors that settled this land, one of them, way back in the early 1700s, one was called, I can't remember his first name, his last name was Thornton. And this was called Thornton's Meadow. It was just a meadow, a grassy meadow, but it was a wet meadow, so trees didn't grow well in it. So meadows were very, very sought after back then because you could harvest the grass at the end of the summer when it was dry without cutting down the trees. So you didn't have to clear the land first. So there's Thornton's Meadow, there's Coburn's Meadow. The meadows were really, really very valuable for the early settlers. Now, once the beavers came along, they flooded the meadow, and so now it's Thornton's Pond. When we were fighting the golf course, we renamed it Thornton's Pond because that was when it was starting to turn into a pond. So the land on that side, Thornton's Pond actually belongs to the golf course. You see this stone wall here? Mm-hmm. This marks the boundary of our property. And that's golf course. And we gotta go up the hill a bit. There's another stone wall that goes that way. Mm-hmm. Beyond that stone wall is the Ogonowski land, Whitegate farmland.
Hickory Hill?
No, Four Oaks. It used to be Meadow Creek.
Yeah.
Over on Broadway.
Yeah.
Hickory Hill's up
Across the-
farther north.
So this connects to that. This property, this area
to the
connects
golf course.
to the golf course.
Yeah. That hill over there is originally was part of the golf course until we bought it out. East Richardson Preserve is over there. That's another whole story.
Yeah,
But
I've been
that's
through there.
yeah,
And Ogonowski is in which direction?
pardon?
Which way is Ogonowski's land?
That way.
Over there. Okay. Now we can walk up the hill and you can see it. Okay. We might as well since we're here. But before we go up there, I just want to show you a couple of other plants.
What's that?
The great big things. Does anybody know what these are?
Looks like rhubarb.
Yes. Watch out. Watch out. Right here, and there's two more there.
Oh, yes.
Cabbage.
Skunk cabbage.
Oh, skunk cabbage.
The tall thing?
Believe it or not, skunk cabbage is a monocot, but it's different among monocots because it has branching in the veins. Most monocots
That shiny
don't.
one?
But it
big
has
one,
the
yeah.
same kind of
You can see it
thing
over
as a
here,
jack in the
behind
pulpit. It has a spathe that comes sticking up, and in early spring, jack in the pulpit, skunk cabbage can push up through the snow and ice.
Wow.
Because their spathe, when it comes up, this little pointy thing, generates heat. and it can melt the ice. And so this is often, you can see it's already very well developed. It's all
Is this one home? This the one that hasn't left yet?
No, that's an arrow. No, I'm not that far. It's going to form, that's a good water plant. You see it along the edges of swamps, and I'm not. I think that this one has a white flower.
Suppose you don't see too many lilies, water lilies.
Oh, yes, we do.
You do?
The big pond is covered with them. Okay. So let's just go up here and see where the Ogonoski plot is, and then go over and see the big pond. You see the little ferns? You know, when ferns come up, they form a little fiddlehead. There's only one kind of fiddlehead you can eat, and you won't find it in these woods. It's from the now I'm losing it. I can't remember. What's the? I'll think of it. It's my old brain. Anyway, we don't have any of those here. Once I was taking care of my mother in her last days, one beautiful spring, and I thought, oh, the woods is full of fiddleheads. I'm going to go home and cook some. So I cooked them up in butter and salt and pepper, and they were just horrible. Just horrible.
So what did you point to again?
But this is, whenever a fern comes, this is a little fern.
Oh, yeah.
They have a little fiddlehead, just like the head of a violin, right?
Yes, I see a lot of those out
Yeah,
in the woods.
and
they're
all
green.
ferns grow up that way. They pop out. So this is a wonderful place.
Wow, look at the view.
Look at the, and you know,
That's
this is
gorgeous.
in the fall. The fall colors are just amazing. You can just come up here and contemplate and look for birds and read a racing novel. Okay, across, this is the point here. That's Ogonoski land across that.
Okay.
But up to the stone wall that parallels the pond is again golf course property.
Oh, the other stone wall.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So below the stone wall is the golf course, and above it is Ogonoski.
Yes, exactly. And then this is ours. Okay.
And this property belongs to the town now?
This property? No, this is ours.
It is yours still.
Right, it's
Yes.
family owned. Right.
Your family and opened it to the public.
Exactly. Yeah, my mom wanted it to be open to the public, so she worked that into the conservation restriction. So it can never be developed, but it's public access within reason. So as long as it doesn't interfere with farming or anything. So, yeah. No, it was wonderful. It's what, you know,
There's no hunting in here, right?
We don't allow hunting, and I don't want fishing, even though fishing was allowed in the original conservation restriction. And the reason is because fishermen have a way of leaving stuff. The worst stuff they leave are their lines. And sometimes hooks. But those lines can really get tangled up with an animal, or, you know. So we don't encourage fishing. But okay, somebody asked about water lilies.
I did.
Okay, do you see all those
On top
leaves?
of the, yeah.
Those are going to be gorgeous white
They're
water
all going to
lilies.
be lilies, huh?
Absolutely.
That's
and
going to be
they've just
pretty.
And the other thing is you see beavers. Now, if we came down here really early in the morning, late in the afternoon, you would hear beavers slapping their tails.
Really?
And they built that dam. We're going to walk past it. That connects this pond, Thornton's Pond, with our big pond, which is now known as the Dunlap Pond. We try not to call it the big pond anymore.
Trying to be classy.
But realize, back in the 1700s, okay, when they were building these stone walls, this was all cleared. I mean, the wood was used for building. The first trees, you know, all these New England woods, the tall pines, where did they go? They went to England for the king to build ship masts out of.
Oh.
You know, and all that trade was all part of the, you know, the lumber or ship mast, slave, rum trade that went all over back and forth, Europe, Africa, you know, so there's some bad history here, But in the meantime, they cleared this land. They used the wood when they didn't have to send it to the king. You could be fined or sent to jail if you were caught using something bigger than, longer than a certain amount or wider. King's boards, we have a couple in our house. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Which was built in 1773. But and then it was grazed, and primarily by sheep. So there weren't any cows back then. There were sheep. So all of this was
it only after the farm and the animals like weren't here anymore that all the trees started growing?
Yes, exactly. There's been a tremendous rejuvenation of forests in New England as a result of the fall of the family farm. And, you know, woods like this that aren't turned into housing developments grow back. Yeah. It's called succession, right? Succession is, you know, when you start out with just grassland and then seedlings come in and trees eventually.
And when did it stop being a farm?
Well, this part was not, this was woods when we moved here in 1950.
Over here was woods? Okay.
Yeah, so there's a big field over there, and we have fields around that we've kept open, or that have been kept open.
And are still open?
Yeah, yeah. And we have quite a few hay fields, and we have cattle we raise grass-fed beef.
And so the house that you grew up in is somewhere around here?
It's the white farmhouse when you go back towards Dracut. White farmhouse on the right, with a big barn that's being renovated.
Oh, okay.
And the cows, right?
And we moved there in 1950. Yeah. And that house was built in 1773.
Wow.
A smaller version of it. It was a salt box. It didn't have all the connections. Yeah.
All right.
No, it's exciting being here, you know, and the step in the history of this place. So.
Helen, did
Thank
your
you.
parents ever think about reintroducing sheep, or was that?
Daddy had dairy cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sheep, our neighbors had sheep, but I don't think he ever considered sheep.
Yeah.
He knew cattle.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that was what, so.
You know? Yeah. Have you noticed any change over the years in the pond, given that the golf course is there and any of the runoff and the chemicals that they use? Has it become more acidic? You see more moss growing in it or anything like that?
You know, it's a really good question. I haven't noticed anything like that. For a while, for like 6 years, which was nothing, we should have had it gone on for 60 years. We had testing done. That was part of the special permit for the golf course, and they didn't notice any significant changes in that time. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a wonderful pond. We're thankful for it because before it was a pond, that area was covered with purple loosestrife, which is an invasive, and so that drowned out that. And I haven't seen, you know, excessive algae, which is what you would see if there was too much nutrient.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Too much nitrogen.
Yeah, exactly. Too much nitrogen from the fertilizer.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you'd really worry about, and I haven't noticed that. Yeah. Becky, you feeling better? Good, great. Okay, so this is now Helen's Haven, but it used to be the Ogonosky Contemplation.
What's that noise?
Bullfrog.
Oh, it's a bullfrog?
No, that trill is a tree frog, gray tree frog.
No, over here.
The deep one would be a bullfrog. Yes, I'm not questioning this.
Well, we knew it wasn't you. Unless it's a ventriloquist.
So let's go on before noon comes around, and we'll circle around and see the big pond and a few other things, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, very nice. My feet won't touch the ground on this bench. I must have shrunk. Yeah, I know.
If it's 10 acres or more, it's a lake, and so this is officially a lake. And we have the beavers to thank for, producing Thornton's Pond, and then there's several beaver dams down at the other end. And that's because the water flows in this direction. It's flowing north. Eventually we'll go through Pelham and hook up with Beaver Brook. So this is all in that big water system. Everything's connected. Sometimes if you come down here in the fall, you will see otters here, families of otters playing around. I've seen them twice, but they don't seem to stay. But I'm sure they come up from like Beaver Brook, come up the waterway.
I got chased by an otter once. Binghamton, New York.
You would, Kate.
I know. We were in the water and I said, what is that? And they started to come towards us. I said, how fast can we run out in the water? We ran and ran and ran. He's quick. He's very quick.
We're babies maybe or something.
I don't know, but he didn't want us in the water.
This pond is a wonderful place to skate in the winter. People, now most people come from, over there, that's the East Richardson Preserve. Our land stops at the stone wall, which is just on the other side of the pond, all the way around. In fact, they undoubtedly put this wall up when they demarcated this property, around this wetland pond, whatever it was at the time. But that is land that we were able to salvage from the Meadow Creek golf course. Okay, it's what, 40 some acres?
48.
48, okay. And again, the Open Space Committee has done a wonderful job of putting trails through it. It's really, really a wonderful place. You access it from East Richardson Road up the hill. But there are a couple of things that are different. You find plants there that we don't find here. And again, I don't know if it's because of the soil differences or what, or the grazing history. But like mountain laurel grows on the hills. The big mountain laurel, you can grow that in your garden. It's beautiful flowers. Another thing is, and I probably get sued, so I'm not going to take you across the beaver dam, but I've walked across it before. Right over there, right where the land comes down to the water, is a whole bunch of what we call bunchberries. Bunchberries are beautiful little, I don't know what state they're in now. I think they're probably getting ready to bloom. But they are like a dogwood flower sitting on the ground. Related, most dogwoods are trees, okay? But this is right on the ground. It's a little flower, looks like a dogwood flower, and then it will get fertilized and develop a little bunch of red berries. Anyway.
It's in Maine.
I don't have any here.
That.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Call it name again?
Bunchberry. Yeah. And I would think, it would be on this side of the pond, but I've never seen it. I don't know why. I don't know.
Maybe it's too sunny.
Could be.
No, my
Although
call.
that gets sun late, And that's where, over there, that's where one of the trails comes down. And several winters I've seen kids will clear the ice of snow and skate there and build fires, raise cane.
So it's okay to skate on it.
Yeah, if you fall through, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
Did you swim here?
Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
With the boat? I went.
Oh my gosh.
Fell. And it was a really hot day.
It's very murky.
Is it deep?
Very rocky.
No, it's not deep, so I wouldn't worry. I've never worried about people skating here for that reason.
Tan and go swimming.
People come down here occasionally. We have very little vandalism, but people will occasionally come down and leave beer bottles and beer cans. Once I came down here in the summer, I don't know, I was walking my dog, and I saw a whole pile of beer bottles, maybe about 12 of them, that had been filled partly with water and were, like a flotilla out there floating around. I was so furious. So that's when I walked in the water. I didn't swim.
Oh.
Got totally muddy. I know when our dog goes swimming in the pond. Anyway, lots of birds here. I think, did I hear a kingfisher?
Just now.
Maybe not, a real loud rattly sound.
Okay.
That's not a kingfisher. That's a
We saw a blue heron a minute ago.
We saw a blue heron in the other pond, yeah.
Yeah.
Wood ducks are often here. Wood ducks will, they used to have wood duck boxes. In fact, I think there are still some that the Boy Scouts put up. The trouble with wood duck boxes is you have to clean them out and spray them because wasps build their nests in them. And that's a red-tailed
Is that a
hawk.
hawk? Yeah, there he is.
That whistle?
Yep, there we
A hawk.
But wood ducks will if they don't have boxes, they will build their nest in hollow trees. There's a scary time when they're fledging the young. The little baby wood ducks have to come down and run to the water. And obviously that's a perilous time for them, which is the reason for wood duck boxes, why they put them right there in the water so that the babies can just jump out and swim. But anyway, I see wood ducks down here just about every year. And there's several other So they're managing somehow. Okay. Wood ducks have these gorgeous feathers. They almost went extinct back when people used to collect birds, kill birds for their feathers to put in women's hats.
Really?
Was the origin of the Audubon Society, was
Wow.
to prevent all that. So that women rose up and
And fishing flies. They use them for fishing flies too, the feathers.
we can give you chicken feathers. You're right, it's beautiful fishing. Plumes, you know. Okay?
All right.
So listen,
Rest
over
time.
here I see a little bee or something flying around these low-bush blueberries. Guess what he's after? It looks like some kind of fly.
I see him now.
See, they're little insects that are out here, attracted to these flowers, doing their part.
Ellen, I was going to ask you, what's the cycle for these berries? Like, when will they ripen, or when?
Well, they will ripen probably in late June, I would say. Yeah, I know it's different every year, but you know, probably by the end of July, the blueberries will have gone. The ones we have here.
Do the birds eat them before they're ripe?
No, they will wait. They will wait till they're ripe, and they know. You know, that's why things change color. You know, a blueberry makes a bright blueberry. What it wants is somebody to eat it, so that they'll carry the seed to some other place. And so the color change says, "Aha, I'm ripe." So, interesting. Birds will know that.
There's a fish in there? Wow.
It's a light colored fish.
Dead or alive?
It's moving.
I'm at the wrong end.
Now it's gone. It's gone. You can't see it now.
What is it? Sorry, I was looking at it. Salamander one?
It's our dinner.
Surprise.
Where are your flies?
Oh yeah, look at.
Ferns emerge as fiddleheads. Isn't that beautiful?
That is pretty.
Delicate.
So then it will change.
Open. This is a cinnamon fern, and this is the specialized leaf that instead of being a leaf, it forms spores. And when that gets mature, it will turn sort of a cinnamon color. And that's why
Just the center one.
just the center one.
But they're not fragrant. No. I mean, you say cinnamon, they don't smell like.
I don't think so. I think it's just the color.
Yeah.
I think it's always something. Yeah. If you come down here later, another time, there's another bench up there that's a really nice place to sit and look over the water. There used to be a trail going up to it, and that kind of fell into disuse, but it's a nice bench.
Ladies
Another lady slipper, yeah. It just,
They seem to grow along the edge.
these huge branch trees fall in the path, and they come down with their chainsaws, and they cut it up, and then it takes it back. Oh, there's a frog. Probably a green frog. There is a species called the green frog. I don't think it's a bullfrog. What a perfect
You see him,
place
Bob?
for a frog. He has his own little castle.
He does.
You know, hemlocks are having a hard time too because of a pest. See if I can find any. The woolly indulgent. It's an exotic foreigner, and it's moving farther north because of climate change. They used to be killed out by winters, but now the winters aren't cold enough, so they're moving farther and farther north. In Virginia, there used to be these gorgeous hemlock groves. I went down to visit my daughter once when she was in medical school there, and it's gorgeous hemlock groves. Now they're all dead, just wiped out.
Because of the fungus.
Because of this woolly indulgent, and it's an insect.
Oh.
It's an insect.
I'll see if I can find any.
Insect?
Well, I'll show you what they have. Little white. They hide and lay their eggs in little white, fuzzy, woolly things. That's why they're called woolly indulgents. So if you see any little white fuzz, let me know, because that's what you're looking at. it's really good if we can't find any. That means they're, they maybe last winter killed most of them off. But what they do is they're a bug. Bugs have sucking mouth parts, and they suck the sap out of the hemlock. And they also, at the same time, inject a poison. So it's a double thing. And if you have a couple of hemlocks in your yard you want to save, somebody can come and inject them and save them. But
Excuse me.
now there are some ladybugs, a special kind of ladybug that loves to eat the woolly adelgid that comes from Asia, which is where woolly adelgids came from. And so they've been carefully introducing those, hoping that they'll be able to knock them back. But of course, then there's always the danger that the ladybugs will start doing something that we didn't want them to.
And there's some ladybugs that cause more harm. There's different.
Yes, some of them are really good. Some of the local ladybugs are really good. I mean, you want them because they kill off other insects. So, yeah. But then there's these.
Plus, they're good luck.
This is called the black ladybug, I think, and I'm not sure. I've never seen one.
That's the good one.
That's
The little red ones are good luck if they land on you.
And then there's the orange.
Yeah, the orangish, reddish, yeah.
But I'm really pleased that I'm not seeing any woolly stuff on them. Sure.
Okay.
And I saw several up in there. There's another one over there. Do you see those?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them right there.
So this is what you think you can identify.
Yep, I'm being honest. I'm not going to say that's the such and such. So, anybody has any ideas? I'm taking the pictures back and looking at my books. It's pretty. Oh, nice fragrance. Yeah. How many petals? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll look it up. Here you can see the cinnamon color.
Yeah.
The cinnamon.
Does this take us back?
Yes, it'll move around.
It does?
Yes.
I say we should have packed the lunch. What happened?
I'm wondering if I could just pull up one. Oh, shoot. I broke it off.
Well, that's okay. You figure them.
No, because I poison anything.
Oh.
Now the pond keeps growing, so we're going to have to move it up. Okay, Bill?
He says, okay.
God, that's incredible.
Oh, it's gushy over here, huh?
It is, yeah.
Cigarette butts.
Nice. They made it all the way down here, huh?
Another one of these. Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
It looks so familiar.
You know it does.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think, oh, of course. And see, there's another one without the...
version of something that gets big.
Like a,
So what is this?
Wild for the place.
but it's not a mountain laurel. It's not a mountain laurel.
Okay, but it's laurel-like in some
It
ways.
is laurel-like. It's
Yeah.
like an azalea. But the flower is like a rose flower. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking for ways to identify it. That's
So I think it sounds like a brain.
oh,
Right.
yeah.
There's a lot of ferns here, huh? Look at the fiddleheads.
Really ferny over on this side.
This-
Get really tall later on.
A lot of them. Well,
And
there's
here's
the,
another
Lilies.
lady slipper.
and here's more. Blueberry flowers.
Blueberries.
All over. I mean, this is going to be a real frosty.
Another one here too.
Isn't it wonderful?
That is an old tree. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure is.
Right. That's good too.
Here we're seeing a last flower, but it's not in flower
Mm.
anymore.
Okay.
Maine, Pennsylvania, Ecuador.
This is the leaf of a wood anemone, and wood anemones are one of the first flowers to come out. Little white flower, very delicate, and they've already gone by.
Wow.
But this is the leaf, the wood anemone. Okay, you can pass that back. And earlier, you would see these wonderful little delicate flowers, and I'm afraid we won't see any now. I think they've all gone by. I think I mentioned in the handout I gave you that these are the earliest of our woodland pine trees here.
Mm.
We have the red pine and the white pine. This is a red pine cone. Okay?
Really?
And you can tell the red pines by this really scaly bark.
Oh, okay.
And they have the shorter.
You can sort of see the red in the bark.
Yeah, and I think the wood is
And also the number of needles, right? 5 versus.
yeah.
What is it?
Just a minute. Let me make sure I get the right one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the number, but I wanted to find a cone. See, this is a red pine, and this is a white pine over here. This is a red pine cone.
Okay.
And the white pine cones are longer, thinner. And I think this is
So now what do? You're counting the pine needles?
the needles in a cluster. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's white pine.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so.
So there's more or less in the red pine?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh.
Erase that.
Delete.
Something called the Indian pipe in late summer. You know, it's a little white thing. It has little pinkish flowers.
Oh,
Okay. It's a total. What it does is it doesn't have any green, but it's an angiosperm. It makes a flower. What it relies on, it lives kind of like a mushroom. It's associated with hyphae underground that are associated with hyphae that are associated with a tree. Okay, so in an indirect way, it gets its nutrient from the trees that it lives near. Anyway, they come out in late summer, where, after a wet period, and they're really beautiful. This is just what's left. Okay.
And what's it called?
It's Indian pipe.
What a wonderful tour. Thank you so much for inviting us here.
Okay, this was just wonderful for me. I really loved it.
It was wonderful for us too.
Yes.
This is quite an adventure.
Well, everybody was so interested. That was the best part.
And Dawn told us about the pine needles. The white is 5 and the red is 3. You learned it in Boy Scouts?
We will never forget that. WHITERED.
Oh, that's better. That's a good way to remember it.
That's what he said.
So let me get everybody's names.
Becky.
Bo?
Helen.
Karen.
Kathy. Rebecca.
Bill.
Great job. You're quite the carpenter. Wow.
Linda.
Gail.
Marianne.
Janice.
Don.
Hank. Ray.
My name is Gay, and that's Bob behind the camera. And it's just been so invigorating for one thing, but it was so interesting. There's so much to learn in here. You never think of all these things in the woods. You just drive by and say, oh, it's woods, but there's so many things in here. Yeah, I know, but it's more than just a plant. It's very, very interesting.
Great.
So, Bob, do you want to come over and join us? Oh, you can't. You're holding the camera. So we would just like to tell you that no plants
were killed in the making of this film.
And with that, we'd like to say thank you to the Open Space Committee and everybody who joined us today.
Thank you.
It was just a wonderful day for all of us. And Bob, you're going to do your thing?
Happy trails to
We meet again. Happy trails. All right. That's
So
it.
this will be on Dracut Access TV.
And it will be on YouTube.
On YouTube. Wonderful, wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Gay and Bob are just
Well,
grand.
thank you very much.
Wonderful asset to the town.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
We had a wonderful time. I wasn't sure if we were coming out of the woods, but
We all
I just kept following you, Helen. I had deep trust in you.
It's good to see you back in business.
Oh, it's so good to be
You know,
back.
we could just stand here and keep thanking each other.
I know. It's nice though. But anyway, thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the Open Space Committee too. Great job.
Yeah, they're super. And have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, happy Memorial. Oh, wait a minute, one more thing. What's coming up
Thanks for
next?
the wonderful
Oh, the Wild
red
Edibles
weather.
Walk. So
That's June 8th.
June
right?
8th at Farmer Dave's on 437 Parker Road, 10:30 a.m.
and bring an appetite.
Sure.
Bring an appetite. You never know. All right, thanks again, folks.
Thank you.